down a little more. How do I?
I had to laugh at this comment right away. Alexa is from Australia. Alexi. She is from the land down under. She's right. We typically late. And I have to say that joke every time she posts.
I like that her last name looks like koala.
Yeah, because there's koala bears there.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Nothing gets by me.
Nothing. So, yes, the land of koala bears. Oh, man. Today has been a interesting day, which we'll get into shortly here, because me and Steve have been working on a threat that popped up on Sunday, and we're trying to get a full diagnosis of it and where that is. And I'll actually share, once we get started here, I'll actually share with you, Steve, what I've learned since I talked to you an hour or two ago.
Oh, so there's a lot more.
There's the story keeps getting deeper. But welcome to Vlog Thursday number 318. Let me switch to my Vlog Thursday notes. I like to say where I'm going to be, and I'm probably going to do maybe next week. Maybe I'll bring them on the live stream. My friends that are putting on MSP GeekCon, they're really talking me into going. So I guess I have to go. And if I mention that I'm going on the channel and have them on the channel, it's a conference for other IT people, IT professionals. It's going to be in Florida. So
where at in Florida?
I don't know. If you go to MSP GeekCon, you can find out, because I've already forgotten. I know. I'm here. What I'll do is I'll post it in the chat and people can click on
MSP GeekCon.
Yep, MSP GeekCon 2023. It's May 21st to the 23rd. Get your tickets now, but where's it at?
Oh, you'll be down there after I'm down there.
Yeah. It's a conference for MSPs by MSPs, but nonetheless, Orlando. So.
Oh, yeah. That's almost where I'm going.
Yeah.
If I fly, that's where I land.
Yeah. So I will be there. I need to book my ticket and stuff. But I want to answer, because people that took the time, and let me throw it up down here on the banners. I did set up the Vlog Thursday at lawrencesystems.com for people to ask questions that I will answer, and I'll try to answer them in the beginning of the show, because there's only a couple, so it's easy until this becomes an untenable, of actually trying to answer too many questions that come in.
A couple weeks.
Yeah,
until everybody catches on and does it.
Yeah, once I get bombarded with emails, I'll create summaries of responses. I'm looking to get in cybersecurity. I'm looking for materials on hardening Linux. Do you have any videos or resources? And the answer is yes. Jay and Learn Linux TV has a bunch of resources to cover. He's got like all of your stuff. I believe he actually has a specific topic on hardening Linux with a couple different tools. So Jay covers it so well. He knows it better than Tom. Therefore, I recommend Jay's videos over my own on that. The other question that came in, I think I only got 3 questions here. Someone likes thank you, who likes my videos. Well, thank you for the videos and information. You've been an amazing resource. I apologize, have been asked already. Was there any suggestions and guidance for considering leaving manufacturing and getting into IT, specifically DevOps engineering? I have a degree and primarily work with industrial CNC machines. We've given the entire career change. My initial thought was DevOps engineering would be a good skill set. I have a passion for networking, so I have considered CCNA certification. I have a fairly complex home lab setup. That's where it all starts. TrueNAS Scale, pfSense, Ubiquity, UniFi, Home Assistant, xCloud, Bitwarden, Mastodon, Plex, Errata, OpenVAS. Hey, that's a good one to learn. And other services. It's all about getting the experience. Is the hardest part about starting IT, is getting someone to put your foot in the door on that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the hardest part. Is they hire almost more on experience than they do on everything else. But the everything else, maybe a different degree or certification, is how you can get in the front door to even have a discussion with someone. So getting some of those certs might be important.
They want the guys who've seen some stuff.
Yes. And it's like, once you're an experienced person, you can just start walking and hopping jobs all over the place. But if you're good at following and working with CNC and things like that, if you're good at following a logical process, then you can easily transition. My friend actually told me he had one of their people that only started like 6 months ago. He's a trained hazmat chemical specialized in some like hazardous materials, chemical engineer, and now he's their top cyber threat guy for a very large company. And he says, you deal with documentation and hazardous stuff all the time. So he just decided one day he didn't want to do that no more. But with no degree, he just went and hammered out like A+, Security Plus, Network Plus. He got those 3 certs. That's all he started with, and jumped in at the ground floor of the company. He had to take kind of a pay cut because chemical people make a lot of money, and but nonetheless, it didn't take him long to climb the ranks and jump up there. So it's absolutely possible. It's just a matter of figuring out where you want to start. And that's the hard part. But if you're willing sometimes to take a pay cut from maybe a really good career because you just don't have the experience, that's just some sacrifice you might have to make. And once you get experience, if you're good at it, you'll ramp up fast.
And it also comes down to what you're doing. If you're doing a back-breaking job, it might be worth the pay cut not to
break your back.
That one.
Yeah. The last question is, do you have any resources on asset and wealth management? Not really. I'm not an expert on that, but I will say where my favorite financial advice person right now, and has been for quite a while, is probably Scott Galloway. He has a lot of podcasts. He creates a lot of media. Easy person to find. Read his books. Jump on the Jordan Harbinger podcast, and you can find episodes of him on there, and of course on Scott Galloway's podcast. But I mentioned both of those because there's also Ray, the guy from BlackRock. You can find him on there too. But that's wealth management. I thought about putting a blog post together. Like I spend some time understanding it because you have to figure out what to do with money at some point in your life and try to be responsible. But I'm not the expert in it. So, and I haven't really found too many like dedicated YouTube channels. I used to like some of them, but they turned into clickbait channels. What was that one guy? There's this one guy that started out so good with financial advice, and he turned it all to clickbait once he broke 1 million subscribers. And it's like, that's like a repeating story, because honestly, he makes more money now than he did giving out boring financial advice.
Well, and a lot of them too, you remember they were really popular for a while, but they were like all 20 somethings who, had like, I had made my first $500,000 working for my dad's company.
Yeah. And that's part of it. Like Graham Stephan is the one I'm referring to. His content was so good at the beginning, and it just, I don't know. I kind of had to quit following him. Like he had some really solid financial stuff he talked about. And he's a smart guy, and he still has some good content, but I know he lends himself to the algorithm a bit too much. So there's my financial advice. Scott Galloway's the real deal though. Great stuff. Ooh, another email came in just now. A general discussion on the current landscape of Linux. I don't know what that means. Oh, and don't worry. The person said, don't say my name on the stream, and not a problem. I make sure I don't say people's names. I do respect the privacy on there.
Well, Linux has a bunch of different kingdoms, I guess you could call it. And
that's a good way to describe it. Yeah. We all worship the same kernel, but there's many kingdoms that worship this kernel. That
one's pretty good.
I'm gonna tell Jay that's how we're gonna do it. It's we all worship the same kernel, and me and Jay actually did I think the most recent, no, not the most, but the one before. We jumped into Linux distros. So the Home Lab show 2 episodes ago. Which number was that? We actually covered that. So it's a topic. It's a Talking Heads video, but nonetheless, it was titled. Wait, not that one. Hold on. Cloudflare tunnels. It was which Linux distro to use, episode 85. So we talk about which Linux distro and the most popular ones to use. We cover quite a few of them too. So
what one should I use?
Yeah, which one should you use? A more general threat landscape for Linux. I read that wrong. Current threat landscape for Linux. Got it. Threat landscape. The threat landscape for Linux is not an easy one to cover. So that's it. That is a challenging topic. And the reason why is the threats you see in Linux are very, very different than what you see in Windows. They're generally not user initiated. That is one of the big things. They're almost always like, hey, we found a flaw in Apache. We found a flaw in Log4j. It's not often the flaw is natively directly in Linux. It's like we found something that was running on there that we were able to get into. So example like Atlassian. Atlassian runs on a lot of Apache Tomcat, which is just a security nightmare to manage because it's so old. And people keep finding bugs in it, and they exploit the Linux server. So a threat landscape it's usually not Linux. But for example, though, there was a problem found in sudo. There was a couple problems found in a couple other things, but a lot of them, like, they don't get the news because they're harder to exploit because they require local user access. And you don't usually have local user access on Linux. It's usually running an Atlassian server. It's running a database somewhere. So that's why the threat landscape is so different for Linux. It's not that it's not there. It's just a very different, but I don't know how to cover it as a topic. So yeah. If you have more specific questions, I maybe that would help me. It's also why antivirus for Linux is really limited, because it's not the Linux things that are going wrong. It's not like Windows. It's usually the exploit is in there. Like WordPress, it is also the way it's talked about. WordPress pretty much runs on Linux, but there's been a ton of WordPress breaches. The word Linux never comes up, but they're all running on Linux because it's not a Linux problem. It's almost always the application problem, because that's the part that's facing it. QNAP is in the news all the time for their god awful software.
We get clients who have them. Like, I have a QNAP. Why? Or the worst is like, I want to put Plex on it and port forward it. It's bad enough it's a QNAP. Don't open it up.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Once again, you're not dealing with a Linux problem. You're dealing with the QNAP problem. But yes, QNAP has Linux on there.
Problem.
Misconfigurations are Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the threat landscape's definitely different because of all that. It's just there's less of it. I mean, the Mirai botnet is on there. So, let's see. I will send you. Oh man, I'll talk about it later. All right, back to the topic of pfSense, because that's the other thing. Let's get that out of the way. pfSense, the new version's out. Yay! So, we've been out. Did you update, Steve? You probably didn't do it yet.
No, I just logged into mine today and noticed it was there, and I'm like, well, I don't want to press that button right now.
Yeah. But nonetheless, we can. Let me share my screen real quick here. Present, share screen. Which window? Oh, Chrome tab. But yes, I'm now running the 2301 release. It is fully up to date and working. So yay!
I should update the 3100 behind me, because I should actually get the 6100s out and update them. I'll do that when I get back. But I wonder if they fix that issue where it takes forever to get an IP address and you don't get a gateway if there's no WAN hooked up.
Yeah, that was a problem you were tracing down.
And it affects the 3100 as well. So it's something with that build.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So that'll be a fun one to play with, to see if we can repeat some of the problems we had found. But the upgrade, I can't say when I went to the release candidate, I did have some bugs, but and people make a big deal about this, but honestly, all you have to do is go to System, Package Manager, and this is what solved all my problems. By the way, I have boot environments, so I was able, when I had the problem, I just rolled back to my boot environment and remove things. And what I had to remove to make it work right was I removed PF Blocker and I removed Snort. Is Snort loaded? Yeah, Snort's still loaded. Once I removed those, the update went perfectly fine. So I was like, awesome, this works. And, no complaints. It's only two things I had to remove. Now, you may have to remove something else, but they say to remove some of the packages. By the way, by default, the packages, when you set these up, they, by they automatically will install with the same settings when you reinstall them. So you're not at risk of having to reconfigure and reset up all the packages or anything like that. So no big deal there. Grayson, how you doing, man? Thank you for the donation. WordPress features. You use classic press. No feature bloat. Yeah, I don't like the Gutenberg editor. I mean, I don't use it much, but it does add complexity to it. I don't know. There's always that balance. The more complex you make it, the harder it is to secure. That's for sure. Thank you, William Daughtery. Always appreciate the donation. With wide open West Internet, if I root my cable modem, I always have to reboot pfSense. If I reset the NIC, I never get a public IP again.
I was about to respond to that, but yeah, that's weird because I don't have that problem.
Neither do I.
I wonder if it's an issue with. Do you have their modem? We both have our own. I think you have your own, right, Tom?
Yeah, I'm using the wide open West modem.
Okay, see, I'm using a Eris modem. I just replaced my old TP-Link one.
Yeah, I haven't really had any problems with it. Wide Open West has worked really, really well. Me and Steve both like Wide Open West as an internet provider.
As long as you don't use their DNS.
Well, yeah.
But there was an outage. I couldn't figure out what everyone was talking about. They're like, well, I haven't had internet all weekend. Mine's worked. Turns out their DNS servers were just down.
Yeah. Travis has been updating systems. So we updated the 3100 at the office. So that's working. 3100 is one of our spares we have. We have the 8200 and I didn't have time to update. I'm going to update the 8200 tomorrow because I want my Friday to be exciting. Yeah. Steve's not exactly for an exciting Friday, are you?
Oh no,
you're gone.
I'm not even going to be in the state.
Yeah, that's right. You're going to be
Burn
gone.
It down.
You're like, go ahead and update all those things.
It'll be my problem Monday when I get back.
Mm-hmm. I switched from Hyper-V and basically no firewall to XCP-NG and pfSense, which is all great. Also switched to new hardware and restoring metadata and configure the backup the first install. Well, I'm glad you're off of Hyper-V. I don't think Steve has any love for Hyper-V either, do you? You don't like the Microsoft virtualization, do you?
Oh, I've been like, wait. In my mind, I was confusing Hyper-V and vSphere.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I'm like, is Hyper-V the Microsoft one? I actually don't hate it. It's not bad. Where I find it really comes in handy is because whenever you have a license for server standard, they give you one virtual license as well. So you can run a VM within your main server. And that saved us a few times where client gets a server and then vendor comes in and wants their own server to run a software. And we're just like, okay, we'll spin it up on a VM for you.
Yeah.
Free license. Here you go.
Also, I switched new hardware, restoring metadata and configuring the backup on my first install. I don't understand what didn't work, but it did not work. Your backups didn't work on XCP-NG? That's the part I'm a little confused about. Had to restore it manually. Insa how to do this. Not sure, because I'm not exactly sure what didn't work. Yeah, I'm not on. Maybe posting the forums. That would be the best. We can walk through the forums, either the XCP-NG forums, walk through what process you followed, and try and figure out where the gap is on that, and we can solve it. Oh, I don't know if you knew this, Steve. But, this is a new feature in 2301. You know how it says like PF Blocker NG Devil and PF NG? They merged them. It's just PF Blocker NG now. Yeah.
I never knew one was the right one half the time anyway.
Well, we wanted the Devil because it was the that was always the latest version.
Okay.
The old one was the other one is the old version.
Okay.
3 reimages to set it up correctly. I think we had that discussion before because of the memory settings that I sent. I think someone posted in the forums. There's something you can set to get the faster memory settings. I forgot to tell you that, Steve. On our Ryzen XCP-NGs.
Did we get 3600?
I think so. I'll look in the forums. I think someone figured out how to do it.
We also didn't try. They might be on the newest BIOS.
We tried the new BIOS.
We did. Did we get on the actual new one?
Yeah, I think we're on that one now.
Okay, because we had that weird shutdown issue and they released a new one. We were on the beta because they didn't even have the original BIOS when I built the first one. If you weren't on the beta BIOS, you didn't even have XMP profiles. So you would have to like manually go in and time everything, and I couldn't get 3600 working. 3200 seemed to work.
Frank says the SG3100 has a bug in with the OpenVPN tunnels. Is there a forum post? You can just answer yes or no because you can't post links in here. Is there a forum post on Netgate about that topic? Just wondering here.
I didn't see the.
Yeah, oh. I have it up on there though.
I see it on the screen now. I forgot you can do that. Yeah, I'd have to see it and test it.
Yeah, let me know if there's a forum post on that. Because that seems like an odd problem. Because a lot of people
on the Netgate forums.
Yeah, the Netgate forums. Because there's people that
I don't know if that was a question or a statement. I don't know if he was telling us that. Yeah, the post is there.
Oh, okay. He says on the Netgate forums.
We don't really do much with. Oh wait, yeah, we don't really do much with.
The pass through.
Yeah, the GPU pass through.
It's one of those things that's just not really used in the
corporate world.
The corporate world doesn't use it. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's a lot of people posting no web UI after 2301. There's a lot of posts in here. So Tailscale service won't start. Is that what you're talking about?
No, he said OpenVPN.
Okay, OBN cannot be established. Here we go. Here's that one. Oh, and the ZFS is supported on there, Steve, because this is someone talking about a 3100 with it.
They're finally doing that?
I guess. Maybe. I don't know.
I thought when you talked to them, they said it was an ARM limitation that it couldn't. Because that would solve a lot of our life problems.
Yeah. Maybe not, because I realized I looked at the top there. This is a 40. This is a different model. But there's a fix here. So there's a kernel change you make. If I'm reading this right. Yeah, there's a bug for it, and it sounds like there's a fix. Updating manually allows it to start. So yes, there's a workaround for it. That's the important part, is post in the forums when you see these problems and check them there. So many people like just go and complain about stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, that was me in the forums. Needed to change the sensor, and the way to do it was in the shell. That's
because that was the other problem. It starts tripping the voltage sensor and gets mad.
Yeah. Yep. Do you need a separate NFS iSCSI HD?
I'm responding to that one right now.
Oh, okay.
Local NVMe is enough, and there are cards that support multiple NVMEs if you need more storage. But ours is actually only running on a pair of WD Blacks. So it runs on local. I think they're 2 terabyte WD Black NVMEs.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah, I think we have.
And if you need more storage, you can always get, I want to say that board supports. Now, granted, you got to check the manual because you start getting kind of limited with your PCI lanes. But I want to say if you're not doing anything crazy with the networking, then I think it has support for the 4x4 bifurcation.
That might be. Those little cards were definitely a problem for the bifurcation stuff.
It's finding the card itself wasn't the problem. It was finding a computer, a motherboard that supported it, because a lot of your consumer boards only support, very few support 4x4. a lot of them support 844, which is
Yeah.
so you get 3 of them working. Cool.
I think Wendell's done a video on bifurcation, but it's definitely it's not a topic I've covered. It's more for hardware people who dive deep into the hardware boards to cover what does and doesn't work. I
And it's
never
really just grabbing a board, loading the BIOS and logging into it. And, doesn't do it. Try again.
Yes, it's not always well documented. I don't know if it's as well
Almost
documented
never.
with the boards. When you know what, it was Wendell from Level 1 Techs when he did I think it was the 45 drives one. He had a problem with bifurcating because there was a mislabel in Super Micro's documentation, and because he's Wendell, he figured out that the labels on the board were offset by 1 to the labels in the BIOS. So when you set the bifurcation and it didn't work, you were actually setting it on the wrong port. If I remember, it was a weird esoteric thing he found in a video. So, got any suggestions? Protect telly boxes.
Yeah, the J4125 is more than fast enough. Jeremy's just died. But we still had a bunch of J1900s still out in the wild. There's still a few out there from before Netgate had affordable boxes.
Is this the one that died?
That's the J1900.
Is this the one he had that died?
Yeah, it's the same model. That is the old J1900.
So we have more of these dying.
They're old.
But they're not that old.
We bought those before the 3100 existed.
Yeah, I know, but still, like we bought a few of these, and I wonder if that's an interesting thing that they're dying. So
just they're aging out.
Yeah,
parts are going bad on them. And again, we bought them before the 3100 was even a thing. Then we went all in on the 3100.
Yep.
But yeah, I would definitely. I ran one for years. It worked. I ran a few little built ones like that. I would say, depending on what you're looking at, they do have a higher end one. I'll see if I can find the link to. That has 2.5 gig support.
Oh yeah, yeah. Do the Amazon link and throw it. And if you send it to me,
I'll send it to you, and you can make the referral link.
Yeah. Well, no, because or can you post links in here?
Yeah, I can post links. I've already posted a few myself, responding to questions. You ain't even noticing what I do.
No, I'm not paying attention.
You don't appreciate me.
I don't. Any opinions on Signal messaging app removing SMS support? I have no opinion on it. I think there's just some challenges they had with maintaining it. I'm indifferent to it because the people that use Signal, they use it to talk on Signal. I never liked because I never used the blending of the messages. I don't like doing that. I have my messaging app and I had my Signal app, and never the two shall meet. Mostly because I rarely text from my phone. I actually text from the web app, which is because I use Google Fi. That's most of the reason why. Keep up the awesome content. Best signal noise ratio on YouTube. Awesome, Andrew. We're using Sonic walls in the company, and they totally suck. Me and Steve can commiserate with you on that. Sonic wall sucks. The only thing I see that pfSense can't do is DPI SSL, which is suggestion to protect web server behind pfSense. Web servers behind, does Sonic Wall, you're using Sonic Wall as a web application firewall? That's weird. But we use Zoros. I did a video. I have a whole product demo on Zoros. Zoros is our web for deep packet inspection in terms of, filtering websites and everything else. Zoros is our answer for that. The reality is people aren't all at their office anymore. That's one of the reasons we have to use tools like Zoros, because it's not like all of our clients sit behind one firewall. They may sit behind a firewall. They may go sit at Starbucks, and you have to be able to filter their computer, whether they're at Starbucks or at work. Oh, when I activate in the interface WAN DHCP6, does the interface get IPv6 dedicated? I don't know. We turn off IPv6. Leave hate in the comments. I'm a troll when it comes to IPv6.
There's that's the model we've started buying. We got a few when the 3100 was discontinued, but the 4100 was not yet out. And there was that weird gap of, we don't have something to sell clients. But those have 2.5 gig support.
Mm-hmm. I'll second this statement here. CrowdSec is a great way to protect web servers. And if you haven't seen CrowdSec, I think I did a video on it a while ago. CrowdSec is really cool. Actually, Go. I'll throw it in there though. I'll throw a link to it. If you don't know what CrowdSec is, Jay from LearnLinks TV sent a video on it. I've done a video on it. I like where they're going with it. I got to revisit the product. We just don't do as many web servers and things like that need the protection from it. But nonetheless, it's a really cool service. I'm running it on our website, so something I am using. I just don't do a lot of videos about CrowdSec. I got a top 10 N1505 with the I226 NICs. I don't know. I don't know enough about those to know what's supported and what's not. But for what it's worth, yeah.
Fine.
The only challenge is if you're using your own hardware and you like to get pfSense Plus, the problem is going to be that you can't download pfSense Plus. You have to download pfSense 2.6 and then register it to get pfSense Plus and then do the upgrade in place. So this depends on how you configured CrowdSec. So the way CrowdSec works, brief overview here, is pretty simple. You know what? If they have something on our website that shows how they work, because it's a really simple idea. When threat actors hit stuff, they have a pattern of attack or common IPs they use. And what CrowdSec allows you to do is see all these attacks, aggregate the attacks, share them open source. So they're doing crowdsourcing of all the knowledge. So when an IP starts attacking someone, let's say a WordPress attack, whatever that is, it aggregates all that information. They have two components. One is the listener. The second part's called the bouncer. And the bouncer, as its name may imply, bounces people away. So as something happens, so someone attacks Tom's website, and if that attack is new, it may not be on CrowdSec's list. So the agent goes, look at all these crazy login attempts hitting my server. And the bouncer goes, yeah, that looks terrible. So let me bounce them because they've hit the login page too many times. They've done something that's in the logs that looks like they're doing an attack, not just viewing the site. And then it flags that IP. Now, flagging the IP once isn't enough. It has to flag over time across multiple hits. And then it ends up in their threat database, and then it sends out a signal to say that IP should be banned in the threat database, and then it blocks the attacks, provided you've configured it that way. That's the important part. The best part about CrowdSec is it's easy to make pretty world graphs out of the logs. Yes, it does have a pretty graphing interface. If you log into their console, it looks neat. So I'll definitely, I'll give them one. I got to revisit it. It's definitely cool. I'd be in bouncer logs because that isn't necessarily what shows up in the dashboard. No, I think it all shows up in there. Oh, look, I gotta see what does the dashboard look like today. "36 scenarios. Drop it in here. I think it's share this tab. Oh, look, log4j still going out there and hitting my website. Shocker. It's not a flaw in mine. It's just stuff trying. These are some of the ones that are on mine. Does my bouncer need to be updated? Maybe. I forget where the reports are in here. Yeah, I'll play with it later. Maybe I'll do a new video on it. They have lots of documentation. Read through the docs. They have everything in the documentation. They're actually done a great job on documentation. Instead of where's Tom going to be, where's Steve going to be?
Cornfields of northwestern Illinois.
Yeah, I would say Steve's
a little town called Lanark.
Mm-hmm. Steve's going to visit some friends in the middle of nowhere. Yep. Corn country.
I like it, though, because there's no speed limits. You do 90 miles an hour through there.
And nobody cares.
There's no one around. I didn't see another car for 30 miles.
So back to the topic, because I literally just got a message a minute ago from my friends over at Huntress. So I'm going to do a whole video on this to dive deeper on it. And we have a volley of emails going back and forth because we had a client and there was a threat on a Sunday, and the threat popped up and Huntress analyzed it. Now, this is not a fully managed client, so that's going to be a big pre-qualifier. This is a client who we resell some products to, but we're not like actively engaged in managing everything with this particular client. They have internal IT, so they just have us monitoring some servers and buying Huntress and buying SentinelOne. So the threat pops up, and Huntress, it goes through, because Huntress gives you a log, and it goes through 2 different analysts at Huntress to do a deep dive into what's going on. Then Huntress says, yep, confirmed, this is bad, and alerts us. So after Huntress alerts us, the next step is basically, us going into action and saying, hey, Huntress has the option to remediate it, but we want to remediate yourselves. And actually, I called Steve. Steve got on there. Steve got mad really quick because our own security stopped him from doing his job. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But
Errata didn't like that I copied the command line stuff to stop a service.
Yeah. Our own Errata flagged Steve doing something because it watched the commands and said, you're trying to execute commands on a computer remotely that was looped through our network. And nonetheless, that was an easy fix. I just bypassed Steve real quick on that. But what was interesting was aggravating. Interesting is the wrong word. One, we don't exactly know how the file got there, so there's still that part of the investigation being ongoing. But we reached out to our friends at SentinelOne, who we have the premium service for, and we want to know why SentinelOne didn't flag it. And so that is the current status. Now, we have back and forth with SentinelOne because SentinelOne said they didn't see it as suspicious, but their own evidence kind of from the SentinelOne discovery tool referred to as Deep Insights that gives you all the logs of what was going on. SentinelOne, it looks really suspicious based on your own tools. So we got this little argument right now going that will be made into a full detailed video, but I'm going to be very, very implicit and detailed about how the threat hunting process goes with logs and times and screenshots. So I can I'm not here to throw SentinelOne under a bus. I actually just want to point out, this is how hard threat hunting is sometimes. Now, what the other interesting part they didn't tell you, Steve, was there was a new form of
is that what you found out after we talked?
Yeah. Well, no. After we talked, what I found out was there's a new bug that was just discovered in IIS. And what does that customer have exposed publicly against our better judgment and telling them not to do it? They have an IIS server.
Yeah.
So I speculated, and this is where I threw it back to the Huntress team because they're good at threat hunting. I speculated that maybe this new bug found in IIS could have been the source of this file magically appearing. So, yeah, because we don't know, and we don't know the mechanism, and neither did SentinelOne. The file just showed up, and the original write-up for this particular malware attack against IIS right now, it actually exploits a flaw in IIS and creates a reverse proxy. Sound familiar? The difference is the publicly disclosed version only creates a reverse proxy in memory. It does not write it out to the drive. But if that same mechanism can be used to exploit IIS, maybe it can be used to write a file out to the drive. So
yeah,
I find it really interesting. So that's kind of the security topic that I was wrestling with today to get that sorted out. I will do a deep dive video on it. So, and does anyone use it? Oh yeah, it's actually used very much so from people who use it as an RDP broker. And, yeah. So
Eric and I did some work last 2-3 weeks ago with a client who they have a software that uses FTP and IIS.
Yeah,
and it's just how the software works, and they're like, yeah, we can't. I don't like it, but I can't really afford a whole new software for my company.
Yeah, so there's a lot of challenges where, it's there's a lot of challenges with it. That's for sure. Companies that are deeply embedded in certain products and they've got entire businesses built on it. It sounds great from the outside, rip and replace. It sounds great for my chair. If you're sitting in the CEO seat and that chair comes with all the responsibility of what it costs to do that, not just in product cost, but in user training. You'll know why they leave it so much. Yes, we run Errata at the office. I seen someone ask that. So, yep.
Yeah, you want to cost the company a lot of money. Change one little process and make it 2 more clicks and watch people lose their minds.
That's true
Forget how
too.
to do their job.
Yep. Hey, Lawrence, apologies, but I hate to have any issues with 2301 stable. Head to the pfsense forums. Yeah, I know. Swing.
We kind of, I think Tom's going to update us to 2301 Friday night.
Friday morning, buddy. I want real
for
fun.
Again, I'll be in a car.
Steve's like, I'm leaving. You guys can just break everything.
I didn't mind when you were there doing it either. I'm like, okay, I'll be on my Steam Deck if we're down for a couple hours. It is what it is. I tend to personally, I always kind of give it a week. Let Tom break it first.
Yep. Tom does a lot of the testing. Ordered some LTS merch a couple weeks ago. Only a week out now. Can't wait to the answer why I have cats on my shirt. Yes, I love the cat one. Oh, yeah, it's Cat 6. PSA's got wedged today. Lots of latency, muck call quality. Have you seen this? Not yet. We haven't really upgraded many of the clients yet for it. We always upgrade ourselves first in all of our lab stuff. So far, I'm doing this on that, and I've been doing the release candidate testing for a little while. Oh, and Veronica's right. The IIS frustration to Linux pipeline is very real. Yeah, it's just, oh boy. I arrive at the office promptly at 9 a.m. That's all right. I get up promptly at 5 a.m. So I'm going to do it first thing in the morning. It actually makes an excuse because I usually have coffee at my house. I'll actually go down to Big B and get a coffee. I think they open at 5 or 6. I'll get a coffee from Big B and go hang out at the office. I could probably do it remotely without a problem. But yeah,
probably, maybe.
Just in case.
I would push the button before you go to get coffee.
Yeah, and maybe by the time you get coffee, it'll be ready. So
then while you're already out, you can make the determination, do I have to go home or the office?
Exactly. And for my next trick, I have a question for you, Steve, because
oh boy,
I know.
I don't like it.
Oh, this is a good one though.
Okay.
I just gotta find it because it's the post I just did the other day. Where did it go? I have so many posts in my forums.
I don't go there enough.
It's life.
I have too much stuff to do. You leave, you stop doing work around the office and hang out in forums and on your computer. I stop doing work around the office. I go do work around my house.
Yeah. Here we go. I found the post.
Okay.
All right. You know, I was testing the speed test on the TrueNAS Core and TrueNAS Scale, right?
Yeah.
So if you see these numbers right here, read speed of 161 and write speed of 289 on a share, am I using a 1 gig or 10 gig adapter?
10 gig.
Yeah.
At least, because that exceeds 1 gig.
Exactly. So just on the surface, you can answer that question.
Yeah.
Do you know how many dumb comments I've gotten on YouTube? You should have at least used a 10 gig connection, Tom. And I'm like,
the max for a 1 gig would be 120-ish.
Yeah, that's like the spicy takes on I get. There's, I think, a debate.
People are bad at math.
Yeah, you're better at math. That's one of the
reasons. 125 is assuming you could saturate 100% a gigabit. 125 is the max. So anything greater than 125, you are past gigabit.
Yep. So let's read this person's spicy take. At least test with a 10 gig or faster, dude. Really? It's clearly, it's still relevant. Home users rarely have 40 gig. Yeah, it's
but that's still not the core of the argument, guys.
I know. Yeah,
like he's right, but also he's arguing the wrong thing still.
Yeah, we're gonna downvote this person here. But look at me, people upvote this. Like, you're looking at my numbers and telling me I'm not testing with at least test with a 1 gig, dude. I mean, I'm like, sometimes the dumb hurts.
Well, and it's like somebody just said, a lot of people get hung up on at big B versus little b, but they also don't understand you multiply it times 8. Like, So 1,000 divided by 8 is 125. Therefore, I didn't just make those numbers up.
Yeah.
But this is, and it's actually a lot of my job is this sometimes. I get consulting calls where I want to provide all the internet to these apartments. Oh,
Oh,
okay. What kind of speed do you want to provide? Gigabit. How many apartments are there? 100. Okay, you got to find 100 gig internet coming in, dude, to segment it out like that.
yeah. Oh man, it's just so I don't know. I couldn't there and there's YouTube comments as well that have the same spicy take of I should have been using so I don't know. I just thought that was amusing. I'm like, Steve's gonna spot this because I know Steve's done a lot of consulting calls with this exact problem where people can't math. They don't know why their VPN's slow, and you're like, you want a VPN that exceeds the speed of your internet, sir? Well, no, I don't. Well, no, you do. This is something you've asked.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't really.
It's yeah. I've talked a lot of people back. Like they think they have some major issue. I'm like, no, you have a math problem. Why is it so slow? You got 30 megabits up. I don't. You need to look at fiber. I have a lot of those talks.
Yeah. Fun stuff. There we go. Steve typed it out here. B equals bit.
Yep.
Big B equals byte.
Little b is a bit. Big B is a byte. There's 8 bits in a byte.
Yeah. Veronica nailed it right here. Math is hard.
What's real wild is when you get into the another one of my favorites is when it comes to hard drives. A 1 terabyte hard drive. And everybody's like, well, it's not a full terabyte. You lose some to formatting. And that's the big common misconception. You lose some to formatting. I'm like, no, you lose it because humans don't understand. We use a base 10 system and computers don't. They use a 1024 system, 1024 bits in a kilobyte, or 1024 bytes in a kilobyte, then 1024 to a megabyte. When you make it human readable, you have all these little numbers that add up to something when you get to that scale. Like I think at a 750 gig hard drive, it's 50 missing.
Yeah.
It is a flat percentage. So, but yeah, it's
you have a security setup separate LAN .2 we actually have a whole lot more networks than that. Maybe I'll talk way more. There's so many networks.
We finally redid it.
We redid it, so there's even more than the last time I talked about how many there are. I mean, it's just a matter of having a lot of different interfaces. I'm not sure what your question is. I've got videos talking about how to separate things out on a network. I've got videos talking about how to do it with TrueNAS and how to do it with XCP-ng. It has physical multiple interfaces, so they're separated out physically that way. They don't in some of them, like storage network, for example. You can have some networks that don't even need to be in pfSense at all because like I've talked about building storage networks. And if you dig around, I've got an old video where I talk about to do it. You build a storage LAN, you create a VLAN for it, but you don't need any DHCP. You just
we have an out of band storage
static. Yeah. You just create a VLAN for storage and you implicitly
and you could even put it on another switch. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a VLAN on the same. Ours is actually I think it is a VLAN, but it's also on a physically separate switch on a separate port, completely out of band.
Yep. So you can build them out of band. It's just, because your storage network shouldn't ever be routed and they don't need to be routable at all. So when you build out things like the storage network, just don't even tie them to your firewall. Why? It's not a need. I mean, unless you have some reason to access them, but generally it's usually that you don't. I've seen someone ask if we had a favorite 2.5 gig card. I don't like 2.5 gig. I go 10. I don't understand people's fascination with 2.5 gig. There's driver problems and God forbid you go Realtek, then you're going to have real problems. So many people have had so many problems with those Realtek cards.
Don't go Realtek at all ever.
Well, there's actually a note in TrueNAS Core because they removed the Realtek driver because it was corrupting iSCSI. I was like, shocker. There's a problem with the Realtek card. So that's one reason I tell people to go Intel. But the 10 gig cards, even the Intel 10 gig cards are cheap now. I think
I think because it's still cheaper for manufacturers to do, we're starting to see it more just in things. Because it's super rare to find motherboards with 10 gig Ethernet ports, but we're starting to see more and more with 2.5 gig ports.
Yeah. SD-WAN for out-of-band management? No. I don't understand.
I don't understand that.
Yeah. I mean, usually SD-WAN solutions are not necessarily out-of-band management solutions. I'm not understanding the question, probably. What was I going to say here? Okay, I got them all. Hard drive confusion is the fault of marketing departments. Look, do you see this gray hair? This gray hair was there because of the arguments and lawsuits that flew between ViewSonic and a few other monitor makers for the measurements of monitors, and before all that got changed.
Yeah, you gotta measure it diagonally. And then I remember when they started putting on 14-inch monitor, 13.7 viewable.
Yeah, so the other box that came in today is now hooked up. I can't say what it is because we can't release the information until a couple weeks from now. I'll tell you about it offline. Okay. I think I can share a picture of something. I'll give people a hint.
Is it a picture of the box it came in?
Yeah, I'll send a picture of the box that came in. No, I guess I don't have
network related.
Nope, storage.
Okay.
New gear.
That's all I needed to know.
Yep, you know what it is.
What leg of everything does it go in? Okay.
Here, I'll let the people on the live stream have a sneak peek because I don't think that violates any NDAs because it's not very descriptive. It just covers the who.
Yeah, it's hard drives. I'm pretty sure hard drives aren't. I'm pretty sure IX System didn't make hard drives in there. Those are not covered.
And we're a reseller. We actually have a lot of those boxes come through. Sorry, like for your management campus goes down. Oh, do you have an LTE for it? Not really.
No, we have it's always weird. I see a lot of people who want to go LTE for their failover, and I'm like, I think we're spoiled because we're in an area where we have multiple ISPs.
Yeah.
Because my answer is, why don't you just get two different providers? So we have a lot of clients now who are their fiber for their primary with a copper coax for the backup.
Yeah, we don't have that need for that out of band management like that to buy an extra LTE. LTE is just, it's rare. We have one customer who has Starlink, don't we?
We have we actually have a customer who I think they're in Indiana. Same thing. They are like 40 miles out of a major city, so the middle of nowhere, and their only options are Starlink and the WISP that the county has.
Yeah.
So I think the Starlink is actually their failover because the WISP is better.
Yeah. So that's a challenge. If you're in a rural area, that's probably all you can do.
Yeah, we've had people in, the mountains in Colorado where they have DSL and that's their primary. And then they're like, yeah, I'm getting Starlink for a backup.
Yeah. I mean, here, me and Steve, even at the office, you gotta remember, we have 3 fibers available at our office right now, 3 fiber options, and 2 cable internet providers. Michigan's weird. We
probably could get 4 fiber options.
We have, who do we have? We have AT&T.
AT&T. WOW has fiber on the building. Comcast could do it.
Comcast.
123net.
And 123net. Okay, 4.
So we got 4 fiber options. Then we have 2 coax options, which would be Comcast and WOW. Then we have AT&T, who, whatever it is they offer, U-verse, DSL, who knows?
Yeah. We've used some Panduit in the past. No, they're nice. But I mean, I don't know. I think people get really hung up on some of the more expensive ones, and
it's aluminum. It stands there. It has screw holes.
Yeah, people really get hung up on that. I seen someone else asked if I had an opinion on Nextcloud. Nextcloud's a really popular service. So yes, it's nice. Do I use it commercially? No, because it's impractical. But for a home user, yeah, if you were looking for a nice private place to keep all your data, I think Nextcloud is a great place to do that. It has great sharing and editing and all kinds of cool features. I just don't use it commercially because it's impractical for us to manage it for clients. It's cheaper for them. The problem comes with a lot of these tools. It comes down to scalability. How easy is it to use? How does it scale to a larger company, for example? And who's going to pay to manage it? And you can't just set it and forget it, because that's how we end up with bigger security problems.
Yeah.
And that being said, it's cheaper to give them, even if it is Microsoft's X dollars per month, which keeps getting to be a higher number. That's still cheaper than what I'm going to charge you to keep maintaining and updating it. It just doesn't scale very well. Now, if you buy it directly from Nextcloud, it's reasonable. They sell hosting services through Nextcloud, and they'll maintain it for you. But then people go back to, but I want it for free. And we know which client always wants it for free.
Yeah.
We had to have a discussion about, because Nextcloud is actually a good solution for all of his woes, other than we ain't going to maintain that Nextcloud for him either, not for the price he wants of low price and nothing.
So Travis brought up the cost of symmetrical fiber, and actually something WoW started doing is they offer fiber that's not asymmetrical now. I forget what they call it, but they'll give you like gigabit down, 200 up. So you still get that high upload, more than most people really need, but it's way more affordable. Like, as opposed to the hundreds, thousands of dollars you'd normally pay for bidirectional gigabit, you're talking in the 200-300 range.
I did not know there was a V2 of rack studs, but if someone wants to tag, here, do us a favor, because this is how rack studs will mail me things.
Yeah.
go tag our torture test video at rack studs Twitter. Or maybe I'll do this later if I remember, or message them and say, hey, this guy tested them. You should send him like 2 bags of the V2 ones and see if they send them. Rackstuds has never reached out to me. They randomly mailed those 2 bags we have, Steve. I don't remember even getting an email from them. Like,
did they email? I thought you ordered the second bag.
No, maybe I did. At least one bag.
I think they only sent us one, but I'll bring the weight plates in and we'll break some more.
Yeah, we'll break some more of them. So
I will say my only complaint with them is when you had something non-4-post and really heavy, so it kind of had that pull on it. After a while, the plastics would kind of start getting stuck, and they were really hard to get off.
Is it possible in the US to get 2 fiber routes having 2 physical routes? Yes, depending on where you're at. I mean, when you're building out data centers, I used to have a client that did this. They had 2 different ends of the building where the fiber came in from 2 different providers, but they paid for it. So could I get it at my office? Oh, no. There's coming in from a different pole at my office is going to be stupid expensive. But if you purpose build a place, you're building a data center, that might be a feature you consider as part of your location. Is that available, or how much is it going to cost you to build it out? So it's possible to be done. Yes. Level 3 or no 123net. 123net has an interesting option, because if you buy fiber from them, there's that big tall building behind us, and they'll beam us the second connection for a backup.
And I was responding to that too. I just did one for a client. He bought, like, Verizon and AT&T have them. They're like the little cellular hotspots, but they have an Ethernet cable, and he just plugged it into the WAN 2 port of his pfSense.
Yeah, I do have XO and IPMI in the same network. XMB, I don't. Maybe you need to make a video and show it on stream when you have time. We don't have them. They're on separate networks. XO and the IPMI are on separate networks. Any idea how to convince someone who is caught up on using Cisco iOS to switch to pfSense? No.
Cost savings.
I mean, the diehard Cisco people are the diehard Cisco people. I don't. It's a battle I don't fight. It's a hill I'm not dying on.
Yeah.
I just like, and I gotta admit, I mean, some people are just so dead, like they love Cisco. Then that's it. I'm not here, and I'm not here to sell people. This is the same reason people, when I get comments, Tom convinced me to use this instead of that, and I'm like, Why? I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to give you information. I'm not here to tell you what to do. Don't listen to me if you don't want to. I just create data points. Here's all the data points for TrueNAS Scale and TrueNAS Core. Pick which one you want. I'm not here to tell you you have to use one or the other. It's the same thing with when it comes to the firewall. People said, Tom, pfsense or pfsense. And even at the end of that video, I said, just use some common sense. All right.
I remember that.
Yeah. So nonetheless, that's yeah. Fun stuff. Use common sense. Can you use TrueNAS to back up an Unraid server? I have no idea because I've never used Unraid. I don't plan to use Unraid. I don't think Unraid's a bad product. I just think Unraid's not the product for me. That's the best way I can describe it. I think Unraid became popular when Linus used it, and they've maintained a level of popularity from Linus, but not many other YouTube channels. I think Bite My Bits and what's that other guy? Space Invader 1. Those are the only two people I can think of that still do videos on Unraid. It is one of those problems. For a while, what was those guy's name? The long-haired dude that does the hardware computer reviews, Gamers Nexus. Like he used it for a while, but after some point, there's a video of him and Wendell. They swapped it all. I think they all use TrueNAS now. It's kind of like a maturing thing because Unraid does not have. I know someone told me they're getting ZFS in the future, but because it's not ZFS based, it doesn't have the resiliency that you get from using a ZFS system to store large volumes of data. I think it's where lots of these people who like Gamers Nexus, as an example, they started like, hey, we're going to make a YouTube channel. And then as they grew big as a company, doing all the things that they did, they realized the limitations of some of the stuff they were building it on. So I don't think Unraid's a terrible product, but I don't ever plan to use it. So I can't answer the question. I can just rant about it. Yeah, Linus moved away from Unraid a while ago. He's been using TrueNAS for a long time. He may not have done videos about it so recently, but I can tell you he's been using it for a long time. I consider Unraid because of the different drive. Yeah, people do like Unraid for that reason. You can hodgepodge drives together at any moment and just stick more in there and make more RAID. Like the Synologies. Taking the CCA course just running out here at iOS. Isn't that fun? Yep.
I actually studied all that stuff. I didn't mind it. I never went through and got my CCNA because I'm like, oh, it expires in 3 years. I ain't getting that till I have a need for it.
Yep.
Never needed it.
How many years ago was that, Steve? You took those
I don't
classes?
want to talk about like 10 years ago.
It's been at least 10 years.
Yeah. I think going through those classes, for me, it was kind of whatever. I was there. But I think it taught a lot of core networking stuff that was incredibly useful, and I would recommend at least, if looking at and going through. Because it still blew my mind the amount of people who didn't understand how to count IP addresses between subnets and conversions to hex and stuff like that. Tom just left me.
Did you answer the best way to back up a NAS server?
Oh, no, I was still talking about the Cisco thing. Did you tell me to answer that?
No. Copy.
I was responding to another one. I am. The best way to back up a NAS to another NAS or online. That's a philosophical question.
Just back it all up to another NAS or to the cloud.
Yeah.
You have the storage VLAN on the switch, but if I have only one XCP/G server and one storage NAS server, is direct connect to each different?
No.
Yeah, I'm not understanding the question.
He's asking if we have a switch because we have two XCP/Gs and multiple storage servers. He wants to one-to-one it, so you could direct connect them.
Yeah.
You don't need a switch, just direct connect them.
Yep. You can, I mean, I think I can't remember if I've ever done a video about direct connecting them. It's not hard to do. At one time we had it set up. That's why I feel like I did a video on it. You can, like, if you have 10 gig, you can take two 10 gig DAC cables, plug them in, and set static IP on them and just direct connect the two devices together. It's good enough for home lab stuff. It's not something I'd recommend in production. Something I'll mention here too, because Steve mentioned about the Cisco stuff. You are talking to two very experienced network engineers who do global consulting on this stuff, who neither one of us have a single certification, in case anyone's ever wondering.
That. And I was just responding to Max because he talked about I loathe subnetting conversions and hate it with a passion. I was the odd one out who could just do them in my head. Like I could just count them out and run with it.
Yeah, it really comes down. Once you get the experience, it suddenly doesn't matter. And especially if you're in the cybersecurity world, you'll find it matters even less. You look at some of the top security researchers like GeoHot. GeoHot is just world renowned for some of the stuff he's done, George Hotz. And I don't think George Hotz I don't know if he has any certifications. Like Tavis Armady, one of the best security threat hunters out there. He's one of the top researchers at Google's Project Zero. I don't think he's old enough to have certifications. I've seen him. I don't know exactly how old he is, but he looks pretty young. And it just comes down to if you're good at it, if you're experienced at it. And once you get an in at a place, yeah. Well, I don't think people who are using Direct Connect are worried about RDMA. I'm going to throw that out there. They're just trying to get the two boxes to talk to each other. So XCP&G, anything like VMware or NSX? Yeah, I mean, it's XCP&G is very similar to VMware, and I have a video where I compare the two. Obviously, VMware's corporate and has more things it can do, but that's not the point. And I brought this up to a lot of people when they say it doesn't do everything. This product that you recommend can't do everything this other product can do that you're comparing it to. I'm like, well, no, it can do the things that the business needs it to do. I don't care if it has a bunch of features that aren't needed that the client will ever use. That's not relevant anymore. Matter of fact, why is VMware in the news so much lately? That's because VMware came up with this, what is it called? They rolled their own discovery protocol and turned it on by default. And my understanding, at least, is not everybody uses this particular feature, but somehow they publicly exposed it. And this is what led to all these VMware boxes being popped. It's a feature that if I understood correctly from the write-up, it's not even very popular for use case. So I don't get it. Good chunk of admins we work for don't understand much anything about regarding IP, subnets, VLANs, or basic routing.
I just responded to that one. Somebody asked me what I do, and I'm like, I make things talk to each other. That's it.
How do you know if your pfSense is blocking something, like trying to find IPMI on old Supermicro motherboard, you can't locate it? If it's on the same subnet, your pfSense has nothing to do with it.
I would put money on it's probably static and you're not sure what networks it's on, because that would also explain why you don't know the ARP request. If you want to cheat and find it and you have a UniFi switch, you could try plugging that in and then at least figure out the IP when it tries to reach out to it.
Yeah. Do you recommend Graylog in production? Yeah. So I want to do a video about this, and maybe I'll do a talk about this as well. At MSP GeekCon, maybe they'll listen to me. We use a lot of open source, but I'm not this Yahoo cowboy IT using any random open source project. When we choose a project, or I mention a project and I talk about any commercial usage of it, I talk about having support contracts such as XCP&G. You can get full support contracts. TrueNAS, yes, it's open source. Yes, we're an IX Systems reseller who sells 5-year guaranteed response time SLA agreements that are covered by TrueNAS for support on these products. And Graylog is a company that makes a great product, but also has a full support contract. So would I recommend using it without the support contract for a mission critical business? If you're really good at Graylog, maybe you can get away with it. I'd probably recommend buying some support from Graylog. You can even buy implementation from Graylog to get it set up. So I would recommend it for production. It's definitely a very high quality product. It does offer support. So if you're considering it, in the fact that you're asking tells me you're not really familiar with Graylog, so reach out to their support team. They even have paid add-on threat hunting packages you can do with Graylog. It's pretty slick. One day I'll do a video on those. Let's see. I think certs are stupid and experience shows far more. Yes, no. I'm not. There's a lot of debate about this. I've covered it in a video topic before. It's easy to hate on it, but it's getting better. And it's getting better because as the market matures, we're getting better at having better tests. God, when I started, the tests were terrible, and we used to call the people paper MCSEs. They were my favorite idiots. So
Yeah, I remember when the A+, when I looked at taking it, they were still talking about ISA slots. I'm like, no, if it has that, it needs to go away.
Yeah, I don't. So this person's really hung up on these questions. It's so you guys have Ryzen Lambert, but also Ryzen 1, Ryzen 2, but only have 2 physical servers. No, we don't. How do we have 3 hosts with 2 physical servers? It's because we got 3. I don't. This person's been watching my videos. These are 3 hosts at 3 separate IP addresses. They are physically 3 boxes as well. Excuse me, I got hiccups now. So they are 3 boxes. Steve can attest to that. He'll vouch for me on that.
I built 2 of them.
Steve built 2 of them. I built 1 of them. So
I built the 2 production ones.
Yep.
And I'm the one who picked out all the parts, spec'd it out, ran and bought them.
Mm-hmm. So they're in
2 of them are in the same rack. One is in a physic. You know what? I wonder if maybe you did a video where you showed the production rack. And they are in separate racks. So there are only 2 in the production rack. The lab one is in the other rack, the open air rack.
That's probably the confusing part.
Yeah.
I have a picture.
Technically, we have 4 because did we get rid of the other XCP or the other Ryzen box?
We got rid of them. Well, it's actually loaded with TrueNAS now. That's what we did the TrueNAS testing on. So they are correct. There are only 2 boxes in here. The third one's in the other rack. So this is we have someone who's been following my channel to ask all these questions.
With a 25 gig, the potential for 40 down the road, but 25 gig OM5 fiber run between them.
Yep. Yes. Fun stuff. Should we ask Eric if he wants to join in the fun?
Sure. He left Mumble. I don't know what he's doing.
Okay. I don't know. He said he was out of here.
He's probably done. He was on a booking call, and then I don't know. That was, I think, 4 to 5, and then
you never talked about powering the production of home lab racks and redundant power state.
So there are actually some pretty cool ways to do that.
Yeah.
So there are, as most of you know, UniFi makes their weird, what do they call it, RDS or whatever, redundant power supply, whatever. They're stupid boxes that can't turn your switch back on if the power supply dies. Cisco and them have a lot of switches that have redundant power supplies, but I can't think of the guy's name now. The guy who we get the lithium-ion battery backups from.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. We did a video on UPSs together.
They have these switches that you can take a single plug into your switch and have 2 power feeds into it. So that way, if you didn't buy the expensive extra $300-400 for the device to do that, they make a thing to do that for you. So right now, both of our racks run off of some heavy duty lithium ion battery backups. So if we lose power, they're going to keep going for a little bit. And then when you get to like the big production level, we had a couple clients asking about these where they want, I think they're called like ATS switches or something. And you can then take 2 power feeds in and power one of your switches or your UPSs. So you can bring like, because the way theirs were designed, they had 2 rails, so 2 separate circuits, and they can bring one circuit down to fix something while this one stays up and then reverse.
Yeah, there's the power transfer switches. We got to do. I still have the little tester that's really cool too. That's sitting on Travis's desk.
Oh yeah,
I like
the
that
one.
one.
It's the same as the kilowatt, basically.
It's fancier. I like it better.
I think it has memory storage. Like you can remember what you told it.
And
Does Steve have racks in his house? Yes.
Yes. Of course Steve has racks.
Do I lift the camera to show it?
It doesn't matter. The people just want to know. They want to know if you have a rack, because of course you do. We all have a rack.
I have a weird custom rack. It's actually made out of an IKEA shelf and open rack rails that have been cut down and fitted to it.
Yes. Yep. Steve's also got a punching bag, and also evening Cody. So, how you doing, man? How's those UniFi updates going? Cody's the UniFi guy. He's got a lot of videos on the topic. He cranks them out, man. I can really relate to him because of that. He's like me, really obsessive about all the videos. Racks by a carpenter.
Actually, yes.
Yeah, Steve is a carpenter. Steve helped build some of this studio in here.
I did the framing in for the walls, and yeah. Oh yeah, I meant to ask you. I think we can get away with the pin spacing might be close enough. We can test it. We might be able to get away on that with they make a USB 3.0 right angle conversion.
Yes, I found the same thing.
Okay. And then there's another company, but we'd have to get it from basically them because they don't have it like on Amazon or anything, that makes little right angle ones.
Yeah, this is our current pile of dumb we're dealing with right here. So hold on, let me make sure I'm not disclosing anything if I share. All right, I can share these photos.
Let's say as long as you don't, yeah.
But basically what we're dealing with here is our Epic system. Which I'll throw this back up on the screen. We're building an Epic system. And we found kind of a flaw right away, which was we didn't notice it until we put the board in. We're like, oh boy, they're down here. So we have to figure out how to get that working properly. That's going to be bend the pins up. That's definitely on the thoughts there.
No.
But the problem
I
is
looked at it last night. That's
not an easy. That's not a. Yeah, it's not. It sounds easy. It's definitely not. So, they need to get 3.0 out. Yeah, I also seen you did a couple Grand Stream videos, so that's interesting. You and Willie now are the Grand Stream people. People keep asking me about Grand Stream. I don't know. I'm not that excited about it. So Willie likes it. I just ask Willie about it. That's been my general answer for people asking that question. You get yourself a solder sucker and replace those right angle pins with straight up ones.
I could actually do that.
Actually, Steve, if you if you want to go crazy, if you Dremel off the plastic.
Yeah. You don't have to Dremel the plastic off. It slides off.
Oh, does it?
I know. I had to push it back last night because I butted it up against the edge. I'm like, oh, that's got to go back.
Oh, it will slide?
Uh-huh.
Well, that makes it easy then. I didn't know it slid.
It slides.
Well, if the plastic slides,
you think take it off and see if the pins sit on more, and we just put it in and then put the board in?
Well, no. Well, I mean, okay. Two answers here. Let's throw that in there. There's 2 options. If the plastic slides on it,
those come off.
Oh, you could slide the plastic off and trim them back. That's like a no-brainer, and then you have enough room for it to work.
Well, you're not really, because you're not trimming much off that bottom one.
No, they can still slide in sideways. It doesn't need much. It only needs like a millimeter, and it needs the distance that plastic piece is. So I think that would work. I don't know. It's an interesting problem for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
now that I know that those slide off, I think that's an easy solution.
Yeah, I knew when you first showed me the picture, I assumed they slid off.
I just didn't try. I mean, but if you
slid it with a screwdriver,
that would give us the distance I need to slide the little things over it. So,
you think just take it off and try to slide them on as is?
That might even work because they're deep enough.
The only downside is you got to pull the board out, do it, and then put the board back in.
Yeah,
because you can't. I tried.
Yeah, I know.
But it will about fit that way. I also thought about just taking my knuckle and pushing on the side of the case and seeing if I could bend it out that millimeter.
Because this is for a group of engineers, I thought about, do they even care if we trim that part of the case out? Because this isn't going in a rack.
It's going in a
vehicle.
Box. Yeah, a trunk.
So, even if you didn't desolder, if you pulled out the plastic, the pins could easily be redirected up.
I don't know. I'm always leery of that just because if you break it at the board, that's a hot mess to fix.
They're copper.
I know they're copper.
How much was that board that we're messing with here?
$400 or $500.
Okay. Yeah. It's not too bad. Way less than the processor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could actually desolder those and redo them. That's actually in my wheelhouse. Pretty easy.
We like the Slim's Cat 6 cables. They're fine. I don't have any problem with it at all.
Yeah, the flat ones are awful.
The flat ones, that's a different story. I've talked about that many times, man. Don't use the flat ones. They're garbage. Moldy popcorn sounds disgusting.
I don't know. I never know what to charge.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's an interesting question someone just emailed in. Do you have any recommendations for a smart card solution for Windows environments, primarily used for PIN plus card login for workstations and small medical practice with an on-premise AD setup? Besides YubiKey, no. And I think there's a Windows login set up for YubiKey. We just don't have that many people that use that. But YubiKey is probably the only one I can think of that is a trustworthy, affordable one. I think smart card stuff is just less popular. Like we have some clients using Duo and things like that because the problem is people lose little things. They don't lose their phones as often, except for that one person.
Yes.
You remember that person that was angry at me for not allowing you to bypass?
We had a client who had Duo for a remote desktop. They
forgot their phone,
called in. Well, can you just turn it off for today? No, go get your phone was Tom's answer. But that's like an hour drive. And
yeah, I didn't particularly like the person either. Their attitude was terrible. And it was because it's indirectly. We just managed a server. And this person called us directly, all huffy puffy. They're supposed to call the person who we manage a server for first, but they did not. They're not directly my client, and we just do this. We were just doing the security monitoring and hosting part of it. It's a client I'm happy is gone. We didn't want them. They threatened to leave. We said, "Great, don't let the door hit you in the butt, buddy."
Mm-hmm. Then they stayed for a few more years, and then finally left when somebody gave them a deal.
Yeah. They threatened to leave so many times, and we kept going, please, please.
The weird part was the other IT people thought it was going to be like a hostile takeover, and I'm over here like, no, come get the server out my rack. I don't want it here.
Yeah, we'd love it to go away.
How soon can you take it? I was actively calling them, hey, you need to come get this thing.
Yeah. How do people not realize they forgot their phone? I don't know.
How do people not realize? When we did more customer facing stuff, we had people come in not realizing what store they dropped their computer off at.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with this. The smart card stuff's a hassle. I don't really see it often anymore. So I don't know. And the reality is, if you look at the threat landscape, like the term we used earlier, would a smart card have prevented half the attacks that we see, or 80% of the attacks, or even let's go smaller, would have protected 10%? No, they're not that type of attack. Most of this, the problem is the user has privileges. They click the thing in an email. They were logged in already. It's not the smart card that was the problem. It wasn't that someone got their login. It's that they clicked the thing when they were logged in. That's pretty much how attacks happen. Either A, externally, because you didn't patch something and they got in remotely, or B, it's B, it's them clicking something while they're doing it. I don't know. Oh, okay. I just got a message. Nonetheless, all right.
I never leave anywhere without my phone. See, I used to have a magnet on my phone and would stick it to the fridge and forget it around the house. I'm not attached to mine.
Yep. What are your thoughts on pfSense Community Edition compared to pfSense Plus? Go with pfSense Plus. I mean, it's free. It's free for home users. It's free for lab use. If you want to buy support, they have an option for it to buy support. So why not use it? I've done a video comparing it already. So that part's like, that's done. Like I did the video. Oh, let me find
a few extra features and it's free. You should just do it.
Yeah. So I don't see a reason not to. Where is he? Share this tab.
You should be doing it for like the backup function alone.
So home, no charge. TAC Lite. I think they have a blog post that in the future. Yeah, here it is. It's just right here. In the future, they're going to offer a TAC Lite for $129 a year in the future. But your home stuff is $0. They want to offer it for free. So
they want you using this at home. They want you learning it.
Yeah.
Because if you use it at home, you're going to want it in a business.
Yep. The one killer feature to use it for, let me pull it up. Where's it at? I'll pull it up in mine because I got to rename something. But the one reason you want to use it, and I commented in my last video talking about this, is look at Tom and all the things he's doing with boot environments, because it makes it so easy just to roll back to other versions. Like boot environments is the biggest reason to do it. The medical practice is complaining about constantly logging in, specifically for workstations that are in exam rooms. Windows Hello is supposed to solve some of that, but I don't know if you can use it in a medical environment. I don't know what the rules are for that. Oh, I don't think we have many people using Windows Hello.
I don't think we have anybody using Windows Hello.
Are you familiar with it, Steve?
Yeah.
It's a one-off thing that Microsoft introduced.
Yeah.
I call it one-off because we just don't see it.
No,
logins are inconvenient, but so is losing patient records. So I don't know the happy answer to that, because if you gave them a smart card to log in, then they lose a smart card and you don't know where it is, and you find out someone swiped it somewhere down the hall. Do you have a breach or not? Now you have a bigger problem that you have to do reporting on it. So I don't know that it just pushes the can down the road for the problem. I don't know that it truly solves it. Or do because medical places have to, because if you don't know who accessed it, this is that weird line, because I was talking to my friends about this. And once it gets all done, he may come on a channel to talk about what it's like working in an environment of this tight, publicly disclosed, publicly traded company that he works for doing cybersecurity. Is even when nothing was lost, at the thought that something was lost, you have to follow proper SEC disclosure, because you're not sure how or what was exactly accessed. So you kind of have to do it. So if you lost it, someone logged in, but you don't know what they looked at, if anything. It could have been some curious person who swiped the card and they left that workstation unlocked and people in a public space had access to it. You should be doing a disclosure, but it's kind of a fuzzy thing of, did anyone really take anything? We don't know, but man, what a mess that becomes.
Mm-hmm.
We had this debate last time. What is TAC Light? I forgot what it stands for. It's an acronym for their support.
I never knew what it stood for.
Yeah, it's on their thing somewhere on there. It says what TAC stands for.
I just always thought it was our former client.
No. that's true too. But TAC. What's this? Somewhere in here. The firewall negate subscription. They abbreviate to TAC, but I forget what it stands for. I don't know. It's a customer thing. Oh. Right. But nonetheless, the TAC thing. All right, sorry I got distracted when someone messaged me. You'll be distracted too, Steve, because I'm going to message you what just was sent to me.
Okay. What are you sending it in?
I'll throw it in Signal.
Oh, okay. It just tells me where I got to look. That's all I'm...
Yeah, it's from Frank.
Like, building Frank? Okay.
Yeah. There you go. That I copied and pasted to you. All right. Sorry. Technical Assistance Center. So someone's figured it out for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
Frank's not wrong?
Technically not.
Okay. All right. That's tomorrow's problem.
Yep.
Have you ever used NextDNS or similar DNS service that has native ad blocking? I haven't used NextDNS. I recommend Quad 9, but Quad 9 is not
player with malicious and porn blocking.
Yes, but they don't have the ad blocking, and NextDNS offers ad blocking. You know, honestly, and I think Steve will probably back me up on this. You block Origin.
You block Origin.
I like it better than PF Blocker. Sorry.
Because there are certain things you can't block still with PF Blocker because they put it on the same server versus uBlock Origin is in the browser and says, I don't think you need that little sub window on your YouTube video, even though it comes from the same place.
Yeah, so I don't really have an easy answer on
you okay?
Yep. Miles is asking. Oh, the Frank. Apparently Frank came in. So
yeah, I figured.
Yeah. Silliness. Nonetheless, sorry for the little distraction. We have office drama. And I feel bad about it. So
I forgot about it until you said that message. I'm like, that was a conversation.
Yep.
Because he hated the neighbor because she had him.
Yep. Stupid. All right.
Yep. Let's see. What are the oldest hard drives you guys run? I've had some go 7-8 years. I got some WD Blacks that were in a server at a school that's long since been closed that had 7 years of runtime on them, and I used them for another 2.
Yeah. You know, I was going to do a video about the drives you retired because late last year, December. Mm-hmm. In December, I retired drives that we started using at the very beginning of 2015. So they had like 7 years of on-time hours.
I have those 2 HGSTs.
Yeah, actually, you still have the drives.
God, they're loud.
Yeah.
I can lay in my room and hear them banging away in the NAS.
Yeah. So nonetheless,
you might hear them now. I don't know why. They heard me talking about them.
Yep. Love that shirt. I have tried to find one, seemingly nowhere to found. That was such a random thing
I
we
think they
got.
sent it to us.
They
I
did.
have a couple other ones.
Yeah.
I think I don't cycle my shirts out enough until they're pretty worn. I think I have some more in my office.
How long should you let spare drives sit on a shelf? I mean,
If they're not spinning logically,
they'll last forever.
that they're mechanical things. Usually, what goes are the heads or the motor.
Right. So yeah, that's usually not an issue, just them sitting on a shelf. And usually, like from a client standpoint, if you buy extra drives for a client, or even, here's an example we did in our office. We retired some of the old servers. I had some hot spares in a box, and we threw the box out with the hot spares because the stuff got old. Like it wasn't very, I mean, throw it out. I actually gave it to a friend who could use it. That's where the big ugly server went. I had a friend who was so stoked to get that. So he ended up getting it. I gave him the spares that we never used. Remember the small spares? Remember that hold the bottle with eBay? So they usually, and this is not uncommon, even in the corporate settings, companies may buy a certain number of spares, but when they recycle out the hardware, they'll cycle out the spares with it. The spares aren't bad at all. It's actually one of the reasons you have companies that have so much good, almost unused hardware that you'll find on eBay or secondary sellers like that.
I remember years ago, we got those servers that were at Sears and never plugged in or turned on. They were spares.
Oh, you wish the permissions were easier? The permissions are a little confusing, especially in TrueNAS scale. Oh my gosh. And I need to do a video on this, an updated permissions video for scale, because there's a bug that's really annoying. It should tell you and warn you about this silliness going on here. Yeah, I think I can do it with this one. So if we go here, let me edit the data set. Actually, advanced. Okay. Down here at the bottom, it says ACL mode POSIX. And then we can change it to ACL mode SMB or off. So we'll leave it at POSIX. I'm not going to save this setting because I want to show you what the differences are when you build these out. So if we're going to go ahead and edit this, test 2, we're going to edit the permissions, which are POSIX. Then we're going to set ACLs. It options a preset. Sure, we could try a preset if we wanted. POSIX open, POSIX restricted. It recognizes POSIX. But look at the way the menu works on this. See how it's got the object, read, execute, and maybe you want to add Tom on here. And then we want to add an item, and we want to set the items. Maybe we want to use a user here, user Tom. But what we've done now is start breaking things. So if I hit add another item, then X this one out. Let me see if it'll actually do it. Nope, because I don't have any permissions. Let me see if I can save access control list. Okay, this time it worked. But that menu is what I want you to concentrate. It's hard to do because I can't do it side by side. So, all right, preparing to set. Okay, it did what I wanted to. It failed. So here's this menu. Looks kind of strange, and it doesn't seem to have the right object stuff. Matter of fact, when I click on stuff, it keeps telling me ACE. It says ACE, not ACL. I don't know why, but it says ACE has errors. Let's go back over to our data sets. Let's look at my video one. Now, the difference here is this data set is set to advanced options. This is properly set to an ACL type SMB. All right. So what does the permissions look like? It should be the same menu, right? That would make sense. No, the menu system looks different. You actually have slightly different boxes. You have different options. You have different items you can add. You have these. This has caused people a lot of drama. If they didn't know to set the data set to a certain ACL type, they can't figure out why their ACLs can't work. And there's no error message other than it doesn't work when you try to do it. I get why people want, they've just had so many like UI element things that could be solved by telling you, like, hey, by the way, when you set permissions, make sure you set the data set type, or hey, while we're here, why don't we set the data set type for you so you can get the permissions added that you're clearly trying to do. So it's kind of an annoying problem. Linus has data rot on drives being stored. That is a completely different topic. It's not a spare drive if it's a stored drive. If you have data on it, it's not a spare. It's just a drive you have it on there. The only way to stop data rot, keep the drive spinning on a ZFS pool. If you do that, the drives, ZFS has correction. If there's any, and it's doing, because you have it across many drives, it's doing correction across these many drives. You can't do data correction if you only have it on one drive, because what are you referencing against? So that's a problem. It's just one of those things, like you need to understand how the bit rot works. So you lose a couple of bits out of one large contiguous file. You need to be able to reference that in some way. The way you reference it is the parity that's spread across other drives. That's how Linus lost data. He wasn't doing these ZFS scrubs. Is how he goofed it up with TrueNAS. The ACL should be redone from the mountain up. Yeah, we'll go with that. Does TrueNAS have an available repo at the open source software? I couldn't find it. Where do you download? They have a GitHub. It's not in a repo, but they do have a GitHub where you can get all the source code from. I don't think they give you a manifest on how to build it, but they do have the source code. Permission seems to overload user too many options, but not nearly enough explanations. Documentation is also out of date and doesn't line up with Bluefin. You are correct. Because I know there's another update coming soon, I've been holding off because they've been doing so many element changes. If I did a video on it, the video becomes dated really quick. So I'm just keeping up with how the permissions work. So when I feel like they've become interface stable, I'll do it and go from there. Oh, man. Then it might be a question for them. I don't keep up. I know they have their source code posted somewhere. I just don't know where it all is. They probably have their own private repos. They sync to it later. I don't know. That's a TrueNAS question, not a Tom question. I don't rebuild it from source. And this is the same problem with pfSense. pfSense doesn't give you the build manifest, like all the details of how to build the software from source. Like they have the source code out there for Community Edition. They don't give you the manifest of exactly how to build it. So that's like, you can go through, you can see what's in there, but are you getting the exact parameters of the build? No, that the way and the process by which they spin and build it is not documented publicly, to my knowledge. Oh, let's see. Well, I'm going to go grab another drink. Steve, you want to entertain the people here?
Yeah, I was just running through questions.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I don't know. I feel like I got to answer all of them, man.
I know. That's what I try to do. We try to answer all the questions here. And we're not big enough. We're not the WAN show where we let the stuff just scroll through because we can't cover it. I mean, I get it with them that they can't, but that's life. I'll be right back.
Yep. Yeah, there was nothing wrong with the drives. It was just I retired that box. In fact, it's like sitting down there. It was an old ProLiant server that I had a WD Black as a boot drive, and it ran 2 WD Reds for my storage, and then off the WD Black, it ran my game servers. I replaced it when I got my 5-bay Synology because that has much bigger drives, and then I have a faster server just for running my game servers now that just has a 480 SSD. No, hardware RAID is still. I wouldn't use hardware RAID in like in the old days when you had like the NVIDIA chipsets on boards that you would build it with, but it's still largely used in Dell servers. So like when you get a Dell server with the actual perk card, we usually tend to let the Dell server do the raid, and then we go from there. Don't use Toshiba drives. I just saw. I don't even know what Toshiba drives is. Where you're referencing Toshiba drives, just don't. The running gag used to be when we were customer facing. Toshiba would make a nicer laptop if they'd stop using their own drives. I'm using the whatever case you really want, as long as if it's a full ATX. I'm using that level 20 MT. I like it because it has lights and extra fans. Really, whatever fits a full ATX. If you want to change the heatsink that's on it from the one I was using, I had to use one that had, I believe, a 92 millimeter fan. You should be able to get cases, stand-up cases that are a bit wider, and you can fit like a Hyper 212 with the 120 mil fan on. They're pushing the boss cards only cover you for boot drives. Because you can only do the 2 drives, and they're usually I think one client, I think they're little NVMEs that slid in the back of one of the servers we got. But they're still doing a hardware raid for, hey, I need somewhere to put large amounts of data.
No. We need large amounts of data.
Yeah.
I like big data, and I cannot lie. I had something on my mind I was going to say, and it just completely fallen out of my head. Toshiba drives. I remember the Toshiba drives I had.
Yeah, I remember I said, don't get Toshiba drives, and then we kept replacing Toshiba drives. Yeah, I didn't even know what the context was. Somebody said I already answered most of this.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Awesome.
It was rapid fire question round while you were gone.
Absolutely.
Whatever your time is worth.
Yeah. How should I quote camera installs?
It comes down to what you're doing. What we started doing for a while with our previous wiring contractor, it was a flat price. It was a camera, the line drop for the camera, time spent mounting and pointing the camera. He didn't really have to do the programming of the camera though. So, and we would just price it out as it's X per camera, because we know it takes this much time to point it and mount it, this much for a data drop, and this much for the camera. And it made it much easier for the customer to digest, because now they're not nitpicking like, oh, you upcharged me $20 for the camera. Your drops are how much? It's this much per camera. You take it or leave it.
Yeah. Oh, the video I'm working on, because some comments have been coming up, because this question is one of those things I can keep redoing the video every year. I kind of like this, right? The debate of Synology versus TrueNAS, and that's been kind of a fun one, because of the debate topic. There's so much more to it. So I started putting together an entire write-up I went detailed on this for all the features, and I have so many more videos now. So for each feature, I have a video you can watch, for all the ones I have videos for, I should say, of what that feature may look like on TrueNAS, or what that feature may look like on Synology, so you can better understand it. So now I'm going to do a really in-depth review that is going to be not too long, because I'm going to link to the other videos if you want to dive into how Synology Active Backup works, how Synology Snapshots work, how Synology Replication works. I have separate videos on those things, and I have separate videos for some of the TrueNAS features that are compared with it. So this is the problem with products, especially with the complexity of NAS products. If you ask the question of, can it do this? The answer may be yes, but how it does that is very different on the two platforms. And the too long didn't watch for this video, and I'm going to throw this at the beginning. Synology is just damn easy to use. Synology is simple. Synology is easy. You click a package, the package installs, and it sets up. TrueNAS scale is not easy. And that's one of the things I'm going to have. Like, I have a video on how to set up apps in scale. And if you go, that looks complicated. Yes, compared to the way you set up an app in Synology, it's extremely complicated. So, yeah, definitely a topic that's coming up soon because there's so many more features both of the boxes do now.
What boxes? I drifted out answering questions.
Yeah. TrueNAS scale,
Okay.
TrueNAS versus Synology.
Yeah, gotcha.
Big differences between them. I mean, Synology is so turnkey for stuff. It's just like click and go.
It really is. And the amount of functions that it has, I think that's what really sets it apart.
And how easy it is to use. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just you click the thing and go, and it just starts working like
Yep.
freaking magic. Because people say, and also the either or question I kind of get. Because my answer is why not both? But like the active backup for business that I'm using and things like that just works so well. I back up my studio computer, I back up my gaming computer. What did it say? 216? Yeah, so it backed up today. It's so smooth and works so well. It's a hard comparison to make. It's like, oh, well, if you want to load in one of these applications, I can just load it, open it up, and it just magics together. You can't do that. It works in scale, but it's just not the same. True gamer move, drinking out of the 2-liter. Yes.
I can palm them like most people palm a 20 ounce too.
Yep.
I've been avoiding eating the pizza that's sitting here.
Yep.
I actually just got dinner like right before this started.
Oh. Yeah. I have my MB server, my download station. This is stupid, though. This is the one broken part of Synology. I didn't even look if it's still working. It's probably still broken.
Oh, the CMS.
CMS.
Broken. Don't use it.
It works with one system, but that's it. It works. It's connected to my one Synology DVA.
It works when they're on the same network.
Yeah. But once they're not on the same network, it just breaks.
Yeah.
Your computer studio's named Stu. Yes, it is. I like, fun names like that. So I had my turtle's name was Pokey when I had a turtle when I was a kid. I had a duck named Honker. Pizza. Tomorrow I'm having Brokeback pizza from Papa Murphy's. I have no idea. I've got no context for that. They're the same now. In the new version, they are the same. That's what we should do. We're gonna fix this because Tom probably has the wrong version in here.
Yeah.
Which one do I have? We'll go to the package manager. We'll delete the one I have, which is probably. Oh, look, let's trash it, guys. We're doing it live. I don't know if this will disrupt my connection or not. So we are confirm removing. There. PF blocker devil removed. Zoom in so people can read that. Available packages. And because they're the same version, they're the same. It doesn't matter, but you don't need to load this one. This will be the development release going forward, but right now they're at the same version. So now we'll just install this one. There we go. We're doing it live. Oh, Brokeback Pizza is the cowboy, but covered with white sauce. I didn't need to know that. Has Untangled changed since it was bought out? I don't really think it changed. They did. I think they eliminated the free download. It's behind like an email registration. They still have it. Last I checked, it's been a little while since I checked. They still had the free one since I checked, but we just don't do much Untangle anymore. Like we have a few clients on it and they keep renewing the subscription, but it's I mentioned earlier, we talked about web filtering. Zoros is our go-to because firewall filtering is a headache. What do you think, Steve? Would you use Synology with a 30+ camera install?
I was trying to log into my UniFi controller, which is broke again. As long as you use the right Synology, you just got to cross-reference what Synology supports. Basically, the amount of the way they calculate it is it's like resolution times number of cameras times frame rate. So as long as you buy the one that has the processing power to support what you want to do, yeah, I would definitely use it for a 30 camera install.
Yeah. This is another Synology. I haven't done a video on this yet, but I mean, we do so many Synology installs. This is another one. I can't remember if I posted any photos on Twitter about it or whatever, but we do a lot of them, and small ones, big ones. It just works so well. So yes, the answer is commercially we use it a lot because it's such an easy turnkey solution.
There's that turnkey word again.
Turnkey.
You just hand it, yeah, and it really is. You hand it over to the client and say, "Here you go."
Zoros is only US based. Do you know another solution that is available worldwide? I do not. Is Zoros not GDPR compliant? Is that the problem? I don't know, because we only have, and purposely when it comes to managed contracts, we'll resell like Huntress or SentinelOne overseas, but I don't think we really do. I think we can, but we don't, because we haven't really had anybody ask. But things like Zoros, and things we contract to load on computers, that we keep to the United States because legal problems. No client has been big enough for us to have to deal with the legal problems if we were to service a client in Europe. There's a whole different legal set of parameters that I would have to navigate. I don't know how often U.S. companies, like, we consult overseas, but we don't do any management of computers overseas, because that can get us into legal hot water.
Yeah. So I actually have a question for everyone.
Sure.
Because I'm frustrated with this. Has anyone run into an issue with your UniFi controller, and I'm running it on a PC, where, and I don't have it open all the time, you launch it, it loads, but whenever you go to the settings page or the devices page, it throws a 500 error.
Is it you running on Windows?
Yes.
Yeah, then screw off, dude. It's your fault. It's your fault.
I'm not loading something completely different for 2 APs.
It's your fault. You can load it on your Home Assistant on a Raspberry Pi.
I might have to at this rate.
I think you should. Backblaze.
It can run within Home Assist?
There's that. Go to the plugin options in Home Assistant. You'll see there's an option to load it.
Okay.
Yeah, it loads as a Docker image. Do you have you can load on a Synology too? Do you have a Synology at home?
On the Synology.
Oh, okay.
I'll put it on the Home Assist. That's always on, and not being fully utilized enough as it is anyway.
Yep. Backblaze. To play off the other comment, broke Backblaze. All right, I won't go there. Are there any decent wireless security cameras? Not to my knowledge.
No, a lot of them are just
the PoE problems which you run into. And we're doing a lot of commercial installs, so you need to get power to the corner of the building where you want it. So the best and most effective way to do it is to run a wire over there, because you need power. So that's why the wireless ones, they exist. I imagine there might be some good ones, but we don't ever recommend them.
By the time you get power over there, why didn't you just run an Ethernet line?
Yeah,
it's easier and didn't require permits.
That worked both ways, going from the EU to US and US to EU. Yes. There's like weird rules they have that I may not understand. So that's why we can consult by people buying block hours from the EU, because we're just doing consulting. But when it comes to like the contract part, the contract rules are very different jurisdictionally between different countries. So we avoid those. What's my preference for hosting a UniFi controller? Linux, or Linux. Those are the only options I choose from. Any one of those 3 options I mentioned work. I've been playing with TrueCharts. TrueCharts works. it's got it. It's not without its issues. So yes, I have True Charts. It works, but I don't know. I'm not. I'm hard. I like it from a tinkering standpoint, but that's actually exactly the problem. Is the tinkering standpoint of it not working as well as it should, or I don't know. Like Fresh RSS works great, but not everything works great in their application. But on a fun note, look at all these apps. I can scroll up and down for all these applications they support. Everything I can filter for it. So if you go to catalogs, we say True Charts. There's a lot of apps. So I think it's great. How good each of these apps are, do they work? I don't know. Some do, some don't. That's the problem I've run into. It's always a work in progress. That's the challenge. Reloading UniFi until it fixes it.
That's what I'm doing. Mostly because I didn't take a backup.
Yeah. Oh man. I might be turning this off soon. It's 7:00.
That's fine. I gotta run to the store for my trip tomorrow. Fill up the Jeep.
Yep. All that fun stuff here.
Yep. Get the
we'll go a few more minutes here. Give us those final questions you have.
Yeah.
What do you use for rack diagrams in Linux? Rack diagrams in Linux is going to probably be my favorite tool for just in general drawing anything.
He uses draw.io.
I freaking love draw.
I draw stuff by hand still, and he gets mad at me.
That's true.
Because I can't. I'm the same way with Photoshop. I can visualize the thing I want, but then the line doesn't go where I want it, and I get frustrated.
Yep. So let me, I'm pulling it up. Oh, that didn't work.
Yeah, you can move a UniFi controller to a Linux setup. You just back up the config, load UniFi on the Linux setup, and then restore it.
I told it it's authorized to use my Google, and it's not using my Google.
That's weird.
Yeah. Whatever. Open existing diagram. Who knows? It just started working magically. Anyways, diagrams.net. Highly recommend it because it's cross-platform if you want to run a local application. I'm using the web one because I had some stuff saved in a web one. I don't use it very often. Yeah, it does not. It says it's there. It sees the file, but doesn't let me open it. That's weird. Whatever. Yeah. I'm not going to. I'm closing that window. Broken.
Yeah. MForce, I don't know if it's open source, but Synology does have their photo application that works very similar to Google Photos, and you can use it to back up photos from your phone and whatnot.
I have not used it, but there is at least one, the good and bad. So Photo Prism exists that's open source, but there's always a but, right? I don't think it has any auto backup apps or anything like that. It has some cool features. It's got some face recognition and things you want that all are managed through the open source. But the problem is compared to Synology Photos, that, let's use that word again, turnkey. You load it, you get an app, you load it on your phone, it backs up your phone to your Synology, and you're happy. It just works. It's less setup and things like that. So less to manage and just works really well. So I'm still using for all my, I use Google Photos for anything I don't care about being in Google's cloud. If I have a particular photo set I would like to take and only have it private, well, then I'll share that with my Synology because that is held by me internally. So, Synology, that's one of the things I'm going to be talking about when I do that comparison video. Synology makes that really easy to do with their apps.
Let's see, Brian, where can I find info to create a second WAN port on the Netgate 1100? The opt port should already be configured as a VLAN. It should just be a matter of setting it the address to static and giving it a gateway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's just the difference between a LAN port and a WAN port is whether or not it has a gateway is a simple way to describe it from pfsense's perspective.
pfsense upgraded a new version on 2100, flashing blue light and no admin web page available. Are you getting an IP address from it all, or
If
to
not,
what level is it not working?
Yeah, console cable, man.
That if you're not even getting an IP, then console cable, because the whole thing's doing nothing.
I've never used Zen Armor, so my answer is probably it's not worth the money because I don't have a reason to use it. For you, you're probably not familiar with it, Steve, because it's more popular in OpenSense. Zen Armor is like a deep packet inspection thing that you can use inside of OpenSense or pfSense for like web filtering and stuff. Yeah. The firewall is every day the firewall becomes blinder to the traffic that passes through it. It's why if you care about the traffic and you want to protect the endpoints, you load something on the endpoint to do it, not the firewall. It's not as easy. So what software do you guys for your mass imaging devices? We don't really mass image devices.
Yeah, we stopped doing that years ago.
Yeah, pretty much like Windows installer, and then you can
Windows 8 kind of did away with that because you just pop the flash drive in and let it go. And look, I reloaded. I installed UniFi over UniFi, and it works now. And I'm gonna leave it until it breaks again, probably. It works now. I'm gonna make my change and be done, and then forget about it again.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, if you get really good at it, you look at things like Intune and auto deploy. There's deployment scripts that script everything to get your system to where it needs to be. There's exceptions to that. If you work in certain corporate environments, they call it the golden image. But man, anyone I know that has to manage that and keeping that image up to date is a headache, because the goal is to try to keep it up to date so I can just re-image a computer and have all the latest updates. The problem is every month there's more updates to Windows, but in between there's also updates to applications. So it becomes a kind of, it requires a lot of management.
Yeah. Until there's a way to just do it with like a live system.
Yeah.
That's what I used to do with when I played WoW. I kept a live copy on my server that I would just open it up once in a while, and okay, now I just got to pull all those files.
Yep. Exactly. There's just the imaging systems is less practical anymore than it used to be.
Yeah, Windows 8 was the first one to really kind of do away with that because they made it so easy. Put flash drive in, it ran and grabbed updates during setup. Cool. Move on.
Yep. Pretty much.
Yes. Now Windows updates just need to be as painless as apt update.
Yeah. Linux makes it easy.
Wish.
Yeah, Linux makes it easy, but you're right. Windows does not. I mean, it's just a whole nother. Windows is such a mess when it comes to that. This was actually one of the discussions that had come up before. And I'll pull it up here. Basically, one of the things I've done to make my life easier, and I just fired it up again. Where's it go? Hold on. Share this tab. Figure out which tab I'm sharing. Me and Jay talked about this on Learn Linux TV. And if you just leave one of you turn on the auto updates, and I just fired this up. I had it off because I was cloning it. But if you fire up a Linux template and you leave auto updates on, which is almost, is this got a UI on it? That's weird. Okay, it does not. I didn't think it did. But this is my lab template. So, it's up and running right now. Okay, it's on this drive here. It auto updates in the background, so it's always up to date. And then when I have to do a video on something, we just hit stop and clone. All right, we cloned it. Or make another copy. I can give it a name if I care, but cloning it with the fast clone, we go back here to home. Yeah, there's a clone. There we go. I have another one. And I can now start this one and do the thing I wanted to do. And when I'm done, I just delete it. It's so easy to do inside of like a virtualization task. And the way you do it in Linux, you don't really need to rebuild it each time. It's pretty fast to do it that way. From Sydney, Australia, from the land down under, LAN. That joke never gets old. Or maybe it does. Steve seems tired of it already.
No, it's
You're like, this is stupid. Oh, I'll leave with this because I see. I think
do
this
you
is
see
the same
something
person.
I don't?
No, I'm gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh because he's clearly watching because he did this. What do you think of Broadcom network card, Steve?
No.
No. Yeah, the person, he's got some. He had some problems that I solved by saying, "Why are you using Broadcom?" And he was using 25 gig Broadcom.
Yeah, don't use
So-
Broadcom.
Mhm.
Realtek works at gigabit sometimes.
But just go with Intel, and your life is better.
I was
Mellanox,
always Intel. Yeah, when you're getting into the big boy stuff like the 10 gig and 25, definitely Intel. I've always been partial for a gigabit, like on consumer boards and that. I love when it has like a Marvel Yukon chip because I remember years ago you pull like a computer out the trash from like the 80s with a Marvel network adapter and it'd still work.
yeah. But I think it's Mellanox makes some good ones.
Yeah.
Once you get into the high end stuff, there's other companies out there, but just stay away from Broadcom. That's the best advice I can have. There's not that many companies making 25 gig cards.
No.
Realtek, I don't think plays in that space. And I did not say 2.5 gig. I did say 25 gig. So
just get Intel.
I'm laughing because you may have seen my post in Slack about.
I did.
Yes. He just emailed us at the Vlog Thursday, which I think is funny. And he sent me a speed test, and it's wild. So it's how fast the speed is now that he swapped his cards away from Broadcom. So if you're watching, dude, awesome. I don't know if he comments or not. I'm not going to say his name. Fun times. All right. I think we've answered all the questions. I don't really have an answer for this one. Is it easier upgrading from 22 or upgrading from LTS to LTS? I would say it's easy either way. I don't know. I don't find it that painful doing the upgrades.
We use a combination of PowerShell and Nanite.
Yeah.
You can use PowerShell to reference the Nanite.
You can use PowerShell to pull Nanite. Yep, that is true. And if you're not sure how to write the PowerShell, you can use ChatGPT to write the PowerShell script to call your Nanite.
Yeah.
I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah.
It'll write the script for you. I'm just saying. All right. I'm going to wind this down. We went for 2 hours. Thank you for joining us. This was fun. Have a safe trip, Steve.
Yep.
I'll let you know how the upgrade goes. I'll message you if it explodes. Or if we're rolling.
I'll be in the car. Just call me. I have nothing else going on. It's driving for 7 hours.
You have 7 hours of driving out in the cornfields.
No, I mean, half of it's Michigan.
That's
literally the edge of Michigan is the halfway point for me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
Then Indiana and Chicago, then corn.
Something like that. So,
yep.
Oh, I just realized I got my Netgate back scratcher. I like these are cool. Like if there's something a vendor should send us, it's freaking back scratchers, man. I'm just like,
I like shirts.
Shirts are good too. I don't get me wrong. I like shirts, but I like back scratchers a lot. So
they need to start putting logos on pants. I got enough shirts. I'm sick of buying pants.
Yeah. Bring pants to the next vendor show for swag. I don't think that's going to go well. But hey, thanks everyone for joining us and take care.
Yep. Bye, everyone.